As a nation, we've become obsessed with what we eat and how we look. Getting our 5 a day, working on our 6-packs and guzzling down our multivitamins. But before you embark on the latest fad diet, stock up on the healthy option ready meals or invest in designer dumbbells, you need to know the facts.
One of the most common processing aids for making bread comes from chicken feathers. How many people knew that?
Over the next 2 hours, we'll be revealing the shocking truth that many diet and fitness regimes should carry a government health warning.
Puts the heart under a huge amount of strain. It messes up your fluid levels.
One of the side effects of that is uncontrolled anal oil seepage.
Yes, some of the very things you'd think would make you feel better and live longer could actually send you scurrying to accident and emergency. Those New Year resolutions to join a gym and get healthy might not be such a great idea after all.
Just eat nothing and you'll be fine. You'll be dead, but you'll be fine.
We are in the midst of an obesity epidemic, with 1/4 of UK adults now classed as clinically obese. So it's little wonder that the diet and fitness industry is worth a gobsmacking £6 billion every year. Tonight, we uncover 50 shocking facts that reveal that not all of it is money well spent. Kicking off our countdown, something to get your teeth into. Now here's a shocker. No matter how hard we try to eat a healthy diet, these days we are all eating more organic protein than we thought.
In a normal food supply, we're going to have contaminants. You cannot keep bugs out of stuff. They're in everything.
And it's not just bugs.
Factories that produce foods on a huge scale are probably going to have rodents running around however hard they tried to keep them out. And rodents have hairs and they're probably going to end up in the food.
Ugh. And if you're wondering just how many wriggly bits could be ending up on your dinner plate, here's some terrifying stats to chew over. Peanut butter, 145 bugs per jar, or 5 or more rodent hairs. Tomato juice, 10 fly eggs per glass, or 5 fly eggs and 1 maggot.
For me personally, I don't have a problem with bugs in my food. Like if I open a lettuce and there's a slug in there, for me that's a good sign because it shows that it's an organic lettuce. It shows that it's naturally grown.
Yeah, it might be natural, but given that we're eating an estimated pound of these blighters every year, is it doing us any harm?
When you eat something, your food goes into your stomach and you produce a very, very powerful acid called hydrochloric acid, which is designed to kill off bugs, kill off things that are going to be bad for us.
It sounds horrendous to know that you might have rat hairs in your food, but it's probably not going to kill you.
Next, a simple but excruciatingly shocking fact. Going for a workout in the gym can totally knacker your back.
I've seen somebody go to a gym, they bent over forward as part of a sit-up, and then their disc prolapsed centrally, and they couldn't move. They woke up in accident emergency at the end of that. Very severe back injury.
With 7.6 million working days lost due to back pain every year, we really should think twice about becoming a gym bunny.
You do need to look after your back a hell of a lot, actually. Last year I had a disc bulge in my back, which was basically just one of the discs in my lower back pressing on sort of like a nerve, which made it quite difficult to walk for a while.
Disc bulge, oh, sounds painful. But I'm not sure I understand what that is. Am I being a bit of a donut?
So if you think of a spinal disc as a donut, right? Now, you squeeze in the donut by bending forward, okay? So you squeeze in, and that happens every day. And see what happens here? Can you see that jam coming out? That happens, and that is your jam, basically, coming out. And this is when you get into trouble.
The worst thing that can happen if they do have a disc injury, somebody can lose all sensation in their legs, they can lose control of their bladder, they can lose control of their bowel, and they can have severe urinary retention. If that happens, they're a medical emergency.
Oh dear. Next, they say man cannot live on bread alone. Well, our next shocking fact is that no matter how healthy you think your wholemeal, wheat germ or bloomer might be, should we be eating bread at all?
That's a very good question, because actually it's very difficult to know. One of the interesting things about bread is that the ingredients declaration required for it is less than it is for other foods. So, for instance, one of the most common processing aids for making bread comes from chicken feathers. How many people knew that? Not many.
Clucking hell, chicken feathers?
When I was a kid, my mum would buy a sourdough, and 3 days later you could throw it through the window and it would break the pane of glass. Today, a week later, the bread is still soft and it's still in date. And it's like, how can that be? And it's because they pump in a load of additional fat and preservatives.
Yes, get this. For thousands of years, bread was a healthy, low-fat food, until supermarket boffins decided to fatten us up by injecting it with fat to prolong its shelf life.
We are now eating food that's so pumped full of fat, sugar or preservatives that we have lost the understanding of what bread is.
And freakishly, they can now make it in a fraction of the time it used to take.
Now they're making bread in half an hour. They've got partially fermented yeasts in bread. It's no wonder that people are getting all kinds of problems. Most people are bloated after eating bread.
Oh, and did I forget to mention that modern bread could kill you?
The thing about bread that's interesting is it's got very high salt content. The problems with that is it increases the risk of stroke. Now, if you took salt completely out of bread, the reduction in salt would be so great that you could probably save about 7,000 strokes a year in the UK.
We think of it as a shiny, happy place, full of people positively glowing with health. But be warned, the gym can be a house of horrors.
People sweating on the machines, on the running machines, or on the bikes. And whilst sprays and paper towels are provided to wipe down the machines, not everybody does.
Yes, germs can thrive in the warm and sweaty atmosphere of the fitness centre. Bacteria and fungus found in changing rooms, showers and on gym equipment can give you everything from athlete's foot and verrucas to colds, stomach upsets and streptococcal infections. You could even pick up a nice strain of superbug MRSA, which causes boils, joint infections and even pneumonia. Lovely.
If you're in the gym, you take 2 towels. One for the apparatus, because the one on the apparatus has all the scum and germs from everybody else and everything else. And then your one for your brow, it will just have your brow on it. So when you're getting on that spin bike, you don't use your own towel and then you're like that.
And worse yet, you could end up carrying these into your home in that bubbling cauldron of nastiness, otherwise known as your gym bag.
Have to wash your gym bag. By the time I get out my gym clothes, especially when I'm training in the mornings, I get so sweaty, I change my clothes. By the time I get home and open my gym bag, I'm kind of like, oh God.
So, wipe down the machines, don't share towels, clean your bits, and for goodness sake, wash your gym bag as well as your kit. Or who knows what you might catch. And number 46, have a banana. But not too many mind, because the shocking fact lurking inside the fruit everyone eats as a healthy snack is that it could turn you radioactive. Now for the science lesson. Bananas contain extremely large amounts of potassium-40, a radioactive substance that makes our nanas positively nuclear. 1 or 2 bananas is fine, aiding your digestion and metabolism. But wolf down more than 12 and you could end up with hyperkalemia, the terrifying symptoms of which are nausea, irregular heartbeat and cardiac arrest. So when you're counting out your 5 a day, try not to go bananas. Next, a shocker for all the wannabe Mo Farahs out there. Don't be surprised if your nipples start bleeding. Ouch!
Jogger's nipple is incredibly common. It's irritation of the nipple simply by the frictional, what I call sandpaper in effect, of clothing against the nipple as you run.
A staggering 80% of all joggers will suffer from this horrible and painful condition at some point in their running life.
Jogger's nipple is actually a bit like nappy rash. It's the same type of skin irritation. So the nipple gets irritated because of the abrasion of the cloth and also the sweat. And that combines to make this really painful, inflamed skin.
I mean, we smile at it, but it can actually be incredibly sore. And the negative side, in addition to that, it inhibits them from actually going running because they're suffering problems when they do so.
And if you don't treat Jogger's nipple, it could get infected. So, what's the answer?
The solution to Jogger's nipple is actually to use a nappy cream, a barrier cream, which will protect the skin from rubbing against the cloth.
For women, a supportive bra will solve the problem. For men, just wearing clothing that actually fits properly rather than moving all around with you.
So, to avoid crippled nipples, get loose with a nappy cream, or, better still, just stay in bed. It's not just that it's addictive, sends your blood pressure sky high and makes you wee. Our number 44 shocking fact is that 1 in 5 coffee cups contain nasty bugs.
There's some research that's going around that shows that the average office coffee cup contains traces of E. coli or fecal matter, which the mind boggles at the horrors of that sort of thing.
Ugh, gross. But where's all this nastiness coming from? Time to call in the Health and Safety Squad.
Unfortunately, the problem tends to come from the washing up sponge or the dishcloth. The researcher, who's based at the University of Arizona, found that they tended to be very dirty in offices, and if it's dirty and you're washing your cup with that same one and maybe not doing a very good job, then you're going to have it on your cup as well.
I certainly think that we need reminding just to take an extra 5 minutes to wash your hands properly when you come out of the toilet.
Yes, if you don't observe proper toilet hygiene, you could be spreading your fecal matter around the finance department.
If you're working in an office, you'll probably be totally shocked by these statistics and say, well, that's not my cup. The nice thing about being in an office is you can always blame some other person.
After the break, more shocking facts. Find out why laxatives are a pain in the bum.
You can even increase your chances of things like colon cancer.
Why skipping breakfast can make you fat.
You're going to be unable to resist the sugariest, sweetest, most carb-laden foods.
And the dangers of weight training. Welcome back to our countdown of diet and exercise shock. At number 43, water, water everywhere. The UK bottled water market is worth a jaw-dropping £1.5 billion a year. And supermarket giants Asda and Tesco happily tap into this market. In fact, their own brand bottled water is a bargain at just 17p for 2 litres. But guess what? It's just a filtered version of what comes out of your tap, except 2,500% more expensive.
It seems insane to me that Asda and Tesco can do that thing where they're basically bottling tapped water and then selling it. I think that's just, you know, that's like the Damien Hirst of supermarkets.
Both Asda and Tesco insist that their smart price and everyday value still water is not the same as household tap water because it's been through a filtering process. But they do admit it comes from the same main supply.
Why would you buy tap water? Why not just buy a water bottle and take it everywhere with you? It's kind of bizarre.
Well, bizarre if we actually realised it was tarted up tap water, which, by the way, doesn't need tarting up in the first place. It's perfectly safe to drink just as it is.
I think we slightly have ourselves to blame for swallowing this, no pun intended. But we seem to be confused and baffled that it has to be water that's been filtered for hundreds of years through ancient rocks, or it's water that's come from a mountain on the top of the Himalayas, and that's the only water that's going to do us any good. I mean, water is water.
Now, here's some great news for all the lazy couch potatoes out there. Forget working out for hours each week. All you need to do is 3 minutes. Yes, shockingly, according to new research, you can get fit in just 3 minutes a week thanks to a brand new regime known as high-intensity interval training, or HIIT for short.
A typical HIIT training program might be 3 times 30 seconds of high-intensity sprinting on a bicycle, followed by a rest of 1 or 2 minutes, and that's the end of your training, and you simply repeat that 3 times a week.
Hang on. The UK government recommends 5 half-hour sessions of exercise a week. Surely you can't get the same benefit in just a few minutes. Well, 7 years of research says you can. Sorry, am I boring you, love?
Anywhere between 3 and 10 minutes of HIIT-related training will improve your insulin sensitivity, improve your fitness to the same degree, or in some cases better than the current 150 minutes of jogging or walking a week.
But don't just take the boffin's word for it. Here's a hunky Hollywood trainer in a vest.
High-intensity interval training is the best way to get results. It really is. You're racing your heart rate up and recovering, racing heart rate up and recovering. You go anaerobically in and out of the fat-burning zone. You're pushing your body to limits because it's short spurts. I've seen it work. People's bodies change.
So there you have it. 3 minutes is all you need. About the time it takes to eat a bowl of popcorn. Next, there's nothing like a good rub down after a hard workout to relax those aching muscles. But don't be seduced by a bunch of joss sticks and some whale music, because the person with your spine in their hands might just break it.
People tend to think massaging is just massaging. Oh, you go to a deep tissue massage, it puts a lot of pressure and just works it. But it actually sometimes causes more damage.
I have a form of haemophilia where I'm very, very prone to DVT and also blood clots. If I have a tiny blood clot in any of my limbs and someone's to massage over that part, it could move into my heart, it could move into my brain, it could be fatal.
Fatal? OK, that's an extreme case. But in the wrong hands, massage can cause permanent nerve damage, skeletal injuries and paralysis.
If soft tissue is damaged, it is very easy to cause further damage to it with incorrect technique or incorrect pressure. I have seen cases in my clinic where people have gone to receive a massage from somewhere and the therapist has used inappropriate pressure and as a result caused more damage.
Yes, sports massage is a far cry from the nice, gentle kneading you get in your local health spa.
I'm the biggest screamer when it comes to massages. I don't think physios like to see me because it's so painful.
So it's absolutely crucial that you find a therapist who knows more than just how to warm their hands up.
When you're getting treatment like that, you kind of have to know the person. You kind of have to have an understanding of what the person's going to do. You're probably better off doing your research properly before just calling anybody in the yellow pages.
Yes, heed this sound advice and you'll be guaranteed a nice, happy ending. Spot the difference. A pot of brilliant white paint and a carton of nice, fresh, healthy skim milk. Actually, they're the same, because the chemical that makes paint white is also added to make skimmed milk white. Without it, it would have a naturally blue colour. And it's not just your milk. Titanium dioxide is found in any number of other things we stick in our gobs, such as toothpaste, sweets, cottage cheese, and even the coating on paracetamol pills. Ooh, it gives me a headache just thinking about it. Oh, look! It's 80s aerobics queen Jane Fonda. Remember her catchphrase? No pain, no gain. Well, that turned out to be the worst advice ever.
I used to work for Jane Fonda, and we all used to say in our classes, go for the burn, no pain, no gain, no guts, no glory. It's actually not true. Of course, if you're doing sit-ups, you do have to feel it. But if you're feeling extreme pain, then that is your body telling you to stop.
It's peer pressure, isn't it? I mean, you look at the right side and you get this girl like going up and down, yes, come on, and then the left side is jumping up and down the step, and then you're in the middle. Okay, what am I gonna do? I have to look like others, I have to try my best, and you do some things you shouldn't have been doing.
Despite being rubbished for 30 years, pushing yourself through the pain barrier is still being touted as the way to get results and to do yourself some lasting damage.
As an athlete myself, I was quite obsessive, and I always thought more was better, and it hurts a little bit, but I'll keep training through. Subsequently, I have a knee injury, which ended my athletic career abruptly.
Other possible injuries include torn ligaments, stress fractures, and even heart attack. Better to take it easy. Yet, shockingly, trainers still repeat this mantra to their clients, pushing them to go hard or go home. Confusingly, it seems not all pain in the gym is equal. Let's ask some fitness experts to clear it up.
Good pain, when we're working out, we should feel a rising burning sensation in the muscle that we're working out on. Bad pain, so we've got a lightning bolt shooting through the muscle, maybe a tear, never good. Any pain in the joints, always a no-no.
If a client starts to say to me, it's hurting, I say, good hurting, bad hurting. Good hurting, we keep going. Bad hurting, let's check what the problem is.
Yeah, it's still hurting though. Probably just indigestion. Now, here's a shocking fact at number 38. Every day, a whopping 34% of us Brits skip breakfast. Not a problem, I hear you say. The calories saved will make me skinny. Wrong. Missing breakfast can make you fat.
I think a classic thing for people who are trying to diet is to think, well, I'll just skip breakfast. Totally the wrong thing to do. No one that I know as a sports professional would ever skip breakfast. You need to have fuel in your body to go and live the day.
It's so important to have breakfast for a number of reasons. The first one is that it sort of kicks off your digestive system, and it kicks off your body. It's kind of like going, right, I'm here, let's get on with it, wake up. And so your digestive system kicks in and it's burning calories early doors.
You see, even by shoveling a sausage in your gob, you're actually doing yourself a favour. And an even better news for bacon butty lovers. It's scientific fact that we've actually evolved to love a big breakfast.
If you don't eat in the morning, by the time you get to sort of 11:30, not only are you starving, because your stomach sends a message to your brain and goes, hello, I'm starving.
Your blood sugar is going to drop to a critical point. Your brain starts to panic because your brain needs lots of glucose, and you're going to be unable to resist the sugariest, sweetest, most carb-laden foods.
They're the ones that are going to feel so satisfying because you put them in, you get that instant hit. So that's why you get to 3 o'clock and you think, oh, I'll have 3 Mars bars because you're chasing the sugar rush.
He really knows me. So, is it time to finally stop worrying and learn to love the morning fry-up?
Nothing wrong with a fry-up. Having a fry-up now and again, absolutely not a problem at all. Body will love it. Body will be very happy.
Next, the shortcut to skinny that's a right pain in the bum. Yes, these over-the-counter bowel boosters are handy if you're a bit backed up. But as a weight loss strategy, they stink, quite literally.
There is this misconception that they speed up the transit of food through your body, and that just isn't the case. Laxatives work on the later part of the bowel, which is called the large intestine, and that's where water tends to be reabsorbed. And taking laxative, you lose water, you will lose electrolytes and salts, and you will lose unabsorbable things like fibre. And unfortunately, you will lose weight because you're losing those things. You're not necessarily losing any fat.
So you'll be spending a lot more time on the lav, and you won't even be getting any thinner. Even more shocking, long-term laxative abuse can do some serious damage to your back bottom.
You get electrolyte imbalance, so your minerals go out of sync. That can cause heart problems, cause all sorts of problems. You get very dehydrated. That affects your brain function and your energy levels.
The colon or your bowel gets used to being stimulated by laxative and becomes lazy. And sometimes you can even increase your chances of things like colon cancer.
Yikes. Talking of bottoms, what about colonic irrigation, where enema enthusiasts have 60 litres of water sloshed up their back passages in order to lose weight and banish bloating? Does it actually work, or is it just a load of old crap?
It's sold as a detoxification, but there is no value in that type of detox. And actually, getting rid of those friendly bacteria in your gut is a really bad idea.
I don't think your bowels were designed to have 60 litres of water flushed through them, and we know that there are risks associated with it. So you can perforate your bowel. It also alters the absorption of certain minerals in the bowel, and that can mean that you have less things like potassium in the blood, and that can cause problems as well.
The human body is designed to rid itself of toxins and waste. You don't need to go and have a pipe stuck up your bum to do it for you.
Next, have you ever wondered why so many personal trainers have such super hot bodies? Are they health freaks? Neurotic narcissists? Well, shockingly, the person urging you to push harder and faster might also be earning a living in the world of adult entertainment. One of the least known facts about the gym industry is just how many of its workforce cross over into other areas.
Personal training is great, but unfortunately it doesn't pay as great as what I thought it did. So I started looking at other areas of work to get into. For better money, I got into stripping. It's not that uncommon. I'd say 1 in every 3 strippers that I've met are personal trainers or have had some sort of involvement in the fitness industry.
But stripping is only the start of it. There's escort work, glamour modelling, and porn.
You see a lot of people like myself, a lot of guys, a lot of girls who are fully qualified personal trainers going into the adult industry to do the stripping, to do the videos. I do fitness modelling, I've done glamour work, lingerie. It pays so much more, and if you've got the body and you've got the appearance to pull it off, and you're going to get paid more, you're going to do it. If you look that way, you're going to get the job because you fit the bill.
Well, there's no doubt a ripped torso is going to take you a long way, or how about all the way?
A friend of mine mentioned he tried doing a bit of porn. I started doing it whilst I was working in the gym just as extra cash, really, because I could use the body I'd built to make some extra money on the side.
Oh, don't worry, she's just looking for a pen to sign a membership form.
It's definitely my physique that got me a shot in the industry. I had to send a few pictures off to a girl that was shooting a site, and she saw my physique and tattoos and liked my looks.
Now that's what I call an aerobic workout.
Directors and companies like guys that are muscle because gay guys are obviously more attracted to muscle. I've been to a scene and the director told me, oh, I thought you were smaller. If I thought you were bigger, I would offer you more money.
In the industry, people want people with good bodies, so you know, fitness instructors, personal trainers, most of the time have got good physiques.
Well, so there you go. Thanks to a combination of low wages and a killer physique, don't be surprised if you spot your personal trainer naked on the top shelf. Nice. Join us after the break to discover why our fruit and veg is not as nutritious as it used to be.
It's all about money. It's all about profit.
The dangers of overstraining.
The womb slips from its position either into the vagina or it can protrude outside.
And why you might pick up more than weights at the gym.
It's a hotbed for sexual chemistry.
Welcome back to our tasty menu of diet and exercise shockers. At number 35, some serial offenders. This morning, you probably think you had a nice bowl of healthy cereal for your brekkie, or a delicious cereal bar filled with nutty goodness. Well, shockingly, what you actually had was a big spadeful of the white stuff.
I think these healthy cereals and healthy cereal bars, you need to see what they're made of. They're massively high in sugar, and the first 3 ingredients is sugar in one form or another. So it'll say sugar, corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup. Sugar, sugar and sugar, that's just what my body needs.
Okay, so it's loaded with sugar, but it's low in fat, right?
Just because they say low fat doesn't mean it's actually good for you, because sugar is actually the problem with the cereals, not the fats.
But what about cereal bars? They sound healthy.
A lot of them are sold as being low fat. Cereals don't contain any fat anyway, so a low-fat cereal bar is ridiculous. You then look at the portion size and you go, okay, so my healthy breakfast is this big. Well, that's not going to fill me up. So I end up having 10 of them, in which case it ends up being worse than whatever it was I was going to have in the first place.
These cereals and cereal bars are loaded with sugar. You're better off eating a Twix or a Mars bar, in all honesty.
Next, time for a commercial break.
You need a medicated ointment that works as hard as you do. Wear it proudly. Blue Star ointment stops itching fast. 100% satisfaction guaranteed.
Wow, stop right there. Jock what? Jock itch. Our next shocking fact is that too much exercise can lead to this. Oh, best see a doctor about that.
Jock itch is one of those diagnoses that it's so rewarding to make because the guys generally who've got it are terrified they've picked up an STI. Jock itch is a fungal infection that affects the groins, and often the fungus that's caused it has come from athlete's foot, and the yeast hitches a ride on underwear. Yeasts love warm, moist environments, and there's little better place in the body than the groins for that.
The reason it's called jock itch, so people that do exercise and wear things like jock cups where the moisture and warmth is held in are more likely to get these sorts of infections. They don't just affect men, they can affect women as well.
Oh, just one more thing. A friend of mine has a similar problem, and she asked if this ringworm of the groin can be treated.
They're quite easily fixed. It's treated with antifungal medication, and, you know, don't be embarrassed about it. Go and see your doctor, it can be easily sorted out.
Thanks. Vitamins and supplements, little nuggets of natural goodness that will keep us in tip-top condition and prevent or even cure some of our most deadly diseases. Right? Wrong.
There are lots of vitamins and mineral supplements that you can go out to health shops and buy, and people assume that because they're vitamins, they must be good for you. Unfortunately, just because you can buy them over the counter doesn't necessarily mean they're safe or healthy.
Yes, we scoff them by the bucket load, but shockingly, research shows that some of these so-called wonder drugs may be doing us more harm than good.
There are some vitamins that you take that can become toxic if you consume them at high enough levels. Something like vitamin A is stored in the fat of your body, so you can actually overdose on vitamin A supplementation.
And if you thought that swallowing vitamin C tablets can help shift your stinking cold, think again.
High doses of it will actually give you stomach upset and diarrhea, and majority of it you end up weeing out anyway.
Still, in Britain alone, people hand over more than £300 million a year to health food shops and supermarkets for these magic pills. But do the people who are taking our money even know what they're flogging?
If you went to your GP would look at your medical history. They would recommend certain pills you may need to deal with a particular ailment. When you go into a health food shop, you just talk to a shop assistant and they'll give you bottles of pills, and they've got no medical qualification, they know nothing about your medical history, and you really don't know what you're taking into your body either.
And for most of us, it's all just a massive waste of cash anyway.
Most health experts will tell you that if you've got a fairly balanced diet, you really don't need to be taking on supplements, especially in the West, where we're not necessarily deficient of the major nutrients we need in our body.
Now, something for us fashion victims. The global market for trainers is worth a staggering £10 billion a year. But despite us spending the national debt of South America on fatty trainers, there are more running-based injuries now than at any other time in human history.
Back in the 70s, a famous sports brand started to come out with specific running trainers, and the heels started to get a lot thicker. And there's actually a correlation between heels getting thicker and knee injuries going up.
But surely all this newfangled running technology is there to help us run better and prevent injury. What gives, sister?
You're more likely to just strike with the heel because you've got that thick cushion right there, and that's when the knee becomes unstable. In evolutionary terms, we are made to run on the balls of our feet. So your natural disposition would be to place the ball of your foot first, and then your heel second.
Hold on, that sounds like the trendy new running sensation of barefoot running.
There's a big fad at the moment for barefoot running, which has actually been shown to reduce injuries. When you're barefoot running, you land on the middle of your foot and the actual arch of your foot flattens and absorbs naturally the impact. I mean, that's how we were running for thousands and thousands of years before the invention of the cushioned shoe.
So, after spending billions on gimmicky trainers with gel support, zigzag sprints or inbuilt wobble boards, now we're being sold the barefoot trainer? Really?
The one thing that people have to remember is you can't go straight from running in cushioned shoes for years and years straight to barefoot running. You have to strengthen up your feet because they will be weak.
There are many gimmicky running shoes. I tell people sometimes that less is more. That when you buy trainers, that you shouldn't change trainers because of a fad. You should wear trainers which are comfortable for you.
Now, here's a shocking idea. These merry ladies and gentlemen may look like they're killing themselves with booze, but actually having a few might be one of the healthiest things you can do to your body. And if you don't believe me, how about this? A recent report in the British Medical Journal showed that drinking can be better for you than being teetotal.
We all enjoy a drink, and actually there is evidence that drinking is certainly not harmful for you. In fact, it may even be slightly beneficial. It may alter the levels of healthy, good fat in the bloodstream, what we call HDL, and that combats the risk of heart disease.
Yes, researchers in Canada found a shocking 25% of reduction in heart disease in moderate drinkers compared with those who had never had a tipple. They also discovered that moderate drinking reduced all form of cardiovascular disease again by 25%. Cheers!
It's also, of course, relaxing, and it helps us enjoy a lot of social interaction, which is really healthy for our mental health.
But bingers, beware. This is not a green light to get completely plastered.
My alcohol message would always be everything in moderation. If you're coming to the doctor and when she's asking you how much do you drink, if you're automatically halving that number before you tell her, then you know you've got a problem.
So remember that next time you're vomiting up the Jaeger bombs outside Wetherspoon. It's not always medicinal. And number 30, a really big shock. Bigorexia. A shocking new body image disorder that can seriously damage muscle-obsessed men.
There was this one guy, he used to come into the gym. He was huge. He was like, I can't even put my arms out as wide as he was. And I think he was actually stuck in this position because his arms were bigger than my thighs. I was kind of like, do you not look at yourself in the mirror and just think, like, it's enough now?
It's this idea that I'm not big enough, I'm not muscly enough. You know, they're seeing pictures in magazines of big, strong men and they want to look the same.
It's when you spend so much time in the gym and you actually feel guilty when you're not in the gym. You let your friends and family relationships suffer and you prioritise your diet and muscles first.
There is a failure in the individual to perceive that's what they look like. So they are literally looking in a mirror and instead of seeing a really chunky person who can't actually do some of the things with their arms any longer because they're so big, they're still seeing a sort of weedy individual that needs more exercise.
You see a guy in the gym and he's going like that and you're thinking, touch your shoulder. And they're going like this. You know, they can lift loads of weight. But a simple exercise like touching the shoulder is impossible. But the fact that they can't touch their shoulder and they're still carrying on, this is a serious problem.
And with more pressure on men than ever before to have a super buff body, bigorexia is on the increase.
I do have clients come to me who want to look bigger than they are. They want that muscular body. I think men in general now are bombarded with images from film and TV and magazines of what the ideal body is. It's muscular, it's ripped, and it's deemed as masculine, and that's what men are supposed to look like.
If you're a girl, you generally want to be a size 0 nowadays. If you're a guy, you want to be buff. But come on, guys, there's buff, and then there's Michelin Man. It's just not nice.
Next, think diet drinks do what they say on the tin? Nope, they just make you fat.
If you have an artificial sugar, you're much more likely to eat more, and it makes common sense. Your taste buds pick up sugar, sweetness, tells your brain, hey, there's lots of sugar on the way down, I've just had something really sweet. And this has been shown time and again that people who particularly drink diet sodas end up feeling hungry afterwards and end up eating more, so you're doing yourself a real disservice.
And if putting on a few pounds isn't bad enough, diet drinks can also turn us into gibbering insomniacs because they're loaded with caffeine.
And that caffeine's going to keep you up all night. And if you've got nothing better to do all night, what are you going to do? Go down, open the fridge and have something to eat?
If you really, really want a fizzy drink, have one once a week. But don't live on Diet Coke all day thinking that you're saving yourself calories because your body is still releasing insulin, still treating it as sugar, and you're still going to put on weight.
Ultimately, the people drinking these diet drinks are believing that if they drink this, instead of the normal drink, that this is actually better for them. And that's why the word diet in a drink doesn't necessarily mean it's a healthy drink. It's just hasn't got any sugar in. But be warned, they've used something else.
Now, if after what you've seen so far, you're beginning to wonder why all these dangerous things keep happening in the gym, here's a shocking fact that explains it all. Basically, gyms are nothing to do with health and everything to do with sex.
Gyms have become the ultimate pickup joint these days. No one wants to admit it, no one wants to talk about it, but everyone does it.
The gym is a place that's packed with testosterone and sweat and spandex. Men wear tiny vests, pumping out their biceps. Women in lycra catsuits, beads of sweat dripping down their cleavage, grunting and groaning, sex faces, squatting lunges, sexy positions. It's a hotbed for sexual chemistry. So why wait to go to the bar in the evening when you can test it out on the fitty on the Swiss ball?
In the gym, you see the vests and the shorts, you see the legs, you see the abs and the biceps and everything. So, yeah, I think they're very popular as meeting places.
I've met a lot of guys that go to gyms just to pull women. You know, they're not really that bothered about training.
Gyms being a pick-up joint, I definitely agree. I'm guilty of it myself as well, you know. I've always tried to pick up girls in the gym. You'd be stupid not to.
Sadly, not all the ladies are as keen as him. And if there's one thing worse than fending off the Romeo on the rowing machine, it's doing it whilst looking like a sack of spuds in spandex. Tell me about it.
You're wearing lycra so every lump and bump is showing. You're not wearing makeup, you're feeling sweaty. I mean, it's just horrendous.
But it's not all bad news for you lycra Lotharios. Doctors agree there's nothing better than a thrusting workout to improve our sex drive. And you never know who you might meet by that pile of sweaty jockstraps.
I met my partner in the car park, actually, at Fitness First, which was quite random, but no, it's worked out for the best.
I met many friends myself from the gym, and also shags as well.
Oh, I see. After the break, even more shocking facts. Why we don't need sports drinks.
It's more or less sugar and water.
What's in our bagged salads.
The level of chlorine is horrific.
And how exercise might have some embarrassing consequences.
I often teach classes where someone will really let off one.
Welcome back to more shocking facts about getting healthy. If you're sprawled on the sofa dreaming of a new you, you'll probably be thinking about an exercise regime to help shift those extra pounds. But there's something to chew on before you hit the gym. Working out can turn you into an even bigger porker.
A lot of people go to the gym with the sole intention of burning calories. They spend hours and hours on the treadmill and they'll say, right, I've burned 300 calories, I can go and have a kebab now. Think again, all that you're doing is putting that food back into your body that you've just slogged away to burn off.
Yes, down this dirty doner and you'll have to dance non-stop for 100 minutes to burn it. That pasta you're shoving down your gob, that'll cost you 80 minutes of laps in your local pool. And it takes 60 minutes of gymnastics to burn off just one Mars bar. But surely after all that pumping and jumping, you deserve a little treat, no?
I always have a right chuckle to myself when people work out. They'll work out maybe once a week and then think they need to treat themselves at the end of it. There aren't any treats in life. Treats are fundamentally bad for you.
What, not even a cheeky mochaccino latte in the obligatory gym cafe?
You finish your workout, you might be with friends, and there's a coffee shop in the gym itself that's got these milky beverages. It's a social thing, we've worked out, let's enjoy ourselves. But that enjoyment can come at the cost of all the hard work you've just literally put in.
So what's the answer? Is it safer to stay on the sofa?
You need to go to the gym, you need to have something healthy, ideally some form of protein and a little bit of natural sugars. And then you just need to have your next meal 3 hours later, and so on and so forth. Little and often, every 3 hours is what I always say to all my clients.
Yeah, so that's a no then. Our next shocking fact is just plain embarrassing. If you're about to run a long distance, you are highly likely to follow through. Yeah, it's joggers' trots.
Joggers' trots is a really common phenomenon, actually. I've even had people come into my doctor's surgery saying to me they get diarrhoea when they're running and they're embarrassed about it and they're really worried something is wrong.
The most public example was Paula Radcliffe in the 2005 London Marathon, where poor Paula, who was heading for #1 place, she had to stop by the roadside and relieve herself. There was a lot of speculation that she just went for a wee, but she has come out, she said it was #2, she's blamed a dodgy stomach.
Despite her mishap, Paula went on to win the race. But why do runners get the runs?
We don't know exactly what causes it, so a couple of theories. One is that as we're running, all the blood goes to our muscles, and actually the blood supply to our bowel is reduced, and that could be causing a problem with absorption. The other suggestion is simply that it's mechanical. All that jogging up and down actually affects the bowels, and that's what causes the diarrhea.
Physiologically, it makes sense when you're exercising and the adrenaline is pumping, your bowels do start to work. And that's what happens. And actually, I recommend exercise and running for people who are constipated because it does get your bowels moving.
So, if you're planning a long jog, get the right kit. No, not the trainers. You'll need waterproof pants and plenty of loo roll, obviously. Way back in 1962, some clever American boffins set about inventing a cheap alternative to sugar called aspartame. Great news for fizzy pop guzzlers? No.
These artificial sweeteners are neurotoxic. They cause damage to your cells, to your brain function. They are thought to be carcinogenic, meaning they are more likely to trigger cancer cells in your body. It's looking really bad for people that are drinking more than 1 can of diet soda a day.
But what kind of person would drink more than 1 can a day?
At one point I was probably drinking, I don't know, up to 10 diet sodas in a day. I was horrified to learn that the key ingredient in those drinks is aspartame. The very same chemical ingredient invented by Monsanto, the company who also invented Agent Orange, which was used liberally in the Vietnam War. They controversially also produce weed killers as well. This is probably chemical warfare that we're all being exposed to every single day.
Blimey, I don't like the sound of that. So what do they add this made-up chemical to exactly?
Aspartame is found in so many different foods. It is very hard to avoid it. Even if you are quite careful with labels, it can be quite hard to avoid it. A quick trip through the supermarket, you'll find it in diet yogurts, in chewing gum, as well as the obvious diet colas and other drinks. What worries me is if you are trying to avoid it, it can be quite tricky to find sometimes on the label whether or not it's included.
So consumer beware. However it's pronounced, aspartame cleverly goes by many different names. You might know it as Canderel, NutraSweet, VitaSweet, Sugary Muck Muck. Sorry, I made that one up. For some, the side effects only become evident once they stop using it.
Since I stopped, I have got better skin, I have got better hair, I feel better in myself, I don't have that yellowy, filmy thing on my teeth anymore.
Maybe if we just cut down on our intake a little bit.
Stay away from artificial sugars completely. Science will come out in the end, but it's looking pretty bad from here.
Next, a visit to the weights room, the gym show-off's favourite stomping ground.
Get up, get up, get up, get up, get up. Yeah, there it is. Nice.
Yes, when it comes to heavy lifting, careful, you don't end up in casualty.
Male bravado is something you often can see in the gym. Put 2 guys side by side on benches. It's likely one of them will pick up weights heavier than they normally would because they don't want to look weak.
You'd actually be surprised how stupid some people are. I've been in leisure centres where I've seen guys who have smaller arms than me kind of go up to like 50-kilo dumbbells and start trying to curl them, and it's just like, no, you need to get a grip.
Ouch.
I have seen guys who've taken on too much weight at the gym. They're trying to impress the other people and they've really loaded up that barbell, and then they come into me a day later because they've got really bad back.
You can get some very, very nasty injuries. Anyone watching the Olympics would have seen the South Korean weightlifter doing a very heavy snatch, too heavy, dislocated his elbow in seconds.
One of the worst things that I ever saw was a weightlifter lifting a weight
way beyond the weight that he should have done normally. And what it did was it tore his biceps muscle right the way through. The injury was so major that he ended up going to surgery and had to have the muscle in his arm stitched together.
At number 23, the choice is yours. A lovely bit of best butter, courtesy of old Daisy here, or some lovely lethal trans fats mixed up in a tub of margarine.
Trans fats are one of the biggest enemies you can eat in your diet, ever.
Yes, the shocking fact is that all those low-fat spreads you think are better for you than butter might just kill you.
We go for fat spreads with no fat and expect them to be the miracle answer, but what we're forgetting is these are fatty compounds that have had hydrogen pumped into them to make them less calorific and less fatty. But the consequences can be quite dire, and there's a lot of research about trans fats to show that they're quite nasty substances.
Most low-fat spreads, particularly margarine, contain what is called trans fatty acids. Other words, they are hydrogenated fats. When they go inside the body doesn't recognise them. It's not able to metabolize them and utilise them. And therefore, they can actually cause what is termed oxidation, which causes free radical damage, potentially carcinogenic.
That's terrifying. And just from a bit of marge on my toast? Mind you, it must be quite slimming.
Because it's so incredibly toxic, you then make internal fat because your body's wrapping that toxic food in fat. So women who say, you know, I'm a perfect size 10, but here I've got fat legs and a big bum, it's because you have far too many trans fats in your diet. If you have a choice, have olive oil, even butter, but do not have margarine. I mean, no one on the planet will eat it apart from humans, and that in itself should tell you something. You can't even get dogs to eat margarine. They just won't go near it.
I don't know why we can't just be sensible about this. It's probably better that you eat a small amount of butter than think, well, actually, I can eat half a tub of margarine because it's got less fat in it. We don't realise that we're pumping ourselves full of these trans fats, which are really coming out as the nasties of the whole food industry.
Thinking of searching the internet for a handy diet pill to help shed those pounds? Well, our next shocking fact will hopefully make you think again.
Pills can give you up to 10% weight loss, but you're going to still need to put effort in with diet. They don't do everything, and a lot of them work in particular ways like blocking your fat absorption, which means that if you have any fat in your diet, it's going to come straight out the other end in a very unpleasant way.
Where's that fat going to go? You guessed it, one of the side effects of that is uncontrolled anal oil seepage.
Sorry, did he just say the words uncontrolled anal oil seepage?
Uncontrolled anal oil seepage.
I thought so.
So you're either taking an amount of the drug that's going to have a very little effect on the body anyway, or you're going to be soiling your pants on a regular basis.
OK, so if the words uncontrolled anal oil and seepage still haven't dulled your appetite for a diet pill, what about the fact that many of these little devils are basically amphetamine, aka speed, as we say under street?
Speed, amphetamines, are massively addictive. They're very hard to break the cycle, and they're also will cloud your judgment, so they're not a brilliant thing to be taking.
These drugs are very, very addictive, can have some very, very harmful side effects, including convulsions, heart attacks, stroke, even death in extreme cases.
Really dangerous diet pills are banned in Britain, but are readily available from the international drugstore that is the internet. So diet pill pop pickers, here's 3 of the very worst. How about the delightful phenylpropanolamine that's used for the urinary incontinence of dogs? Or what about some clenbuterol that's used for the treatment of asthma in horses? Or if you really want to go for it, how about some phentermine for a potential dose of weight loss accompanied by mood swings, chest pain, seizures, and hallucinations? Enjoy.
I love these healthy option meals. They're delicious.
Really? That doesn't sound very shocking.
Unfortunately, I am left starving afterwards because they're about a quarter of the portion of a normal ready meal.
Our next shocking fact could make master chefs out of us all. Trawl up and down the aisles of any supermarket and you'll be overwhelmed by a sea of healthy, low-fat meals. But guess what? They are not nearly as healthy as they claim to be.
When you take fat out of a food, you're taking out flavour. So in order to make a product palatable, they have to put in and/or sugars, artificial flavourings, colours so that your eyes are drawn to it even if your taste buds aren't. They mess around with the food as soon as they take something out.
Now it's time for a little consumer quiz.
You've got 2 jars of peanut butter. One's peanut butter, one's low-fat peanut butter. Pick them up and have a look at the ingredients.
OK, I'm looking at the ingredients.
The ingredients of the peanut butter, you look at the ingredients, it goes, peanuts. I know what peanuts are, fine. You look at the ingredients on the low-fat one, I don't even understand it. It sounds like a chemical experiment. It's fake fat, it's non-food, it's ridiculous.
It's just about people knowing what is in the food, looking at the ingredients, looking at what the company is putting in there. Don't be fooled by prefixes such as healthy. Healthy is absolutely meaningless. It means nothing because everybody's healthy is different.
Working out with weights can be good for you. It helps build up muscle, strengthen bones and lose fat. But pushing yourself too far can be a disaster for your back and front bottoms.
Anybody that strains excessively, for instance, during heavy lifting or, hardcore exercise, is at the risk of prolapsing something. So if you're a guy, you may cause rectal prolapse, or if you're a girl, you may cause a vaginal or rectal prolapse.
Ooh, sounds nasty. But what is it exactly?
Well, a prolapse of the womb is essentially when the womb slips from its position either into the vagina or it can protrude outside. Why does that happen? Well, we've all got pelvic floor muscles. If these muscles become weakened through childbirth, lots of coughing, lifting heavy weights, then that allows the womb to slip down. And likewise, you can get equivalent prolapse with the rectum.
A lot of times it happens in squats. People want to build big legs or they want to, achieve a certain muscularity. They think they'll pile on the weights. And these are the problems that prolapse happens when a lot of straining goes into things. It happens a lot, and people need to realize that these are part of the dangers in the gym that you need to realize. You need to know what you're doing before you go in.
Just look what happened to this poor fellow, a champion weightlifter with a textbook example of what can happen to your colon when you lift too much and strain too hard. The picture's too disturbing to show in all its glory, but take it from me, you really don't want this to happen to your leotard. So what can we do to keep our nether regions in good nick? Apparently, it's all down to a strong pelvic floor.
The way to practice doing pelvic floor muscles are, think about you're doing a wee, you squeeze the muscles to stop doing a wee. Those are the muscles you should be doing. So do 5 of those, 6 or 7 times a day. In fact, just while talking, I've done half a dozen of them.
Well, you'd never know. Don't run away, because after the break, we ramp up the shock. Find out why fat is good for you.
You'll never see a fat squirrel and they live on nuts and seeds.
Why crash diets certainly aren't.
It can really mess with your brain chemicals.
And why you shouldn't believe everything you read in the papers. Really?
We're actually becoming more neurotic about our health.
Welcome back to more shocking revelations about diet and exercise. At number 19, a fact about fat.
Fat, let's talk about fat. People don't understand about diets. Fat is so good for human beings.
Really? That's great news for us salad dodgers. Fat is good for you. In fact, for a healthy, balanced diet, fat should take up a massive 33% of our daily intake. But let's get a doctor's take on this before I start on my chicken and mushroom pie.
Fat in the body is very important for absorbing certain vitamins. So vitamins A, E, D and K are all absorbed using fat. So we need fat for those vitamins.
In fact, fat is indispensable to our entire nervous system.
Fat forms a part of what's called the myelin sheath. That's like the insulating material around our nerves, and that helps us to conduct electrical activity much more quickly and have a very responsive nervous system. So fat's incredibly important, and some fats we know actually help prevent strokes and heart disease. So omega-3 fats, for example, that are present in a lot of oily fish are really healthy for our heart.
So, does it matter what kind of fat I eat?
The bad fat we talk about is saturated fat, so that's the fat that clogs up our arteries, as opposed to the good fats people take, like olive oil, which actually is good for your body and can help to redress the balance of cholesterol in your body.
You'll never see a fat squirrel, and they live on nuts and seeds. So fat is good. You should eat lots of fat. I was on a diet for 20 years, and I ate loads of fat, and I've never been thinner.
The human body is a remarkable machine, and honing it to perfection by working out is a complex interaction of biology, physics, and physiology. But what is shocking is that we entrust body management to people who often don't know any better than we do.
One of the problems with personal training is that there isn't an overall governing body. There are people out there who are, for want of a better word, charlatans, and there are some trainers out there who are dangerous.
But not only are there thousands of non-registered personal trainers freely roaming the gyms of Britain, unless you ask, you'll never know.
Anybody on the street could call themselves a personal trainer. You know, you could call yourself a personal trainer, you know.
When I was a personal trainer, no one had any qualifications, and we were teaching people a lot of stuff that was actually, frankly, wrong.
So chances are the he-man or she-man taking your work out is undertrained and under-regulated, putting you through a scientifically dubious program and swindling you out of your monthly membership fee. Tut tut.
If somebody is telling you that you need to come into the gym 5-6 times a week, work very, very hard with them and train exactly as they're saying, then yes, as far as I'm concerned, that's unrealistic, it's dangerous, and they're just trying to make money out of you.
At number 17, a shocking and disgusting fact, wrapped up in a nice scientific-sounding word: biosolids. Ever wondered what happened to your number 2s when you pull the chain? Well, after several intensive filtration processes, they're turned into agricultural fertilizers, and we basically end up eating them. Across the pond, a real stink has been kicked up about this human sludge and the potentially harmful waste products it might contain, such as industrial chemicals and heavy metals, and even disease-inducing microbes from hospital.
It's something to treat and to handle with caution.
There's all kinds of potential chemical, potential microbiological threats that really need to be taken into account.
So the next time you're eating a bag of chips or chomping into a nice juicy tomato, you might just be biting off more than you can chew. Ooh. Every weekend, thousands of people take part in charity fun runs and marathons. They raise shed loads of cash. But here's a shocking and sobering fact. Some of them never make it over the finishing line alive. Yes, long-distance running can be fatal. Most of these deaths are caused by heart attacks, often as a result of underlying conditions the runner knows nothing about.
This is a really substantial amount of exercise, and we don't know what sort of shape our bodies are in. We don't know whether we've got perhaps some narrowing of the arteries of our heart, for example, and putting it under that sort of strain is going to cause us to have a heart attack or something really serious.
Dehydration is something else that can be dangerous. On a hot day, you can lose up to 4 litres of water from all that sweating and panting. But be careful you don't drink too much, because that can kill you too.
One can reduce the concentration of certain salts in the body, specifically sodium, and this can result in the brain swelling up and causing a sudden death.
And if all that isn't enough to stop you donning a banana costume and entering a fun run, what can you do to stay safe?
You cannot just suddenly go and do that event without any training. If you're running a marathon, you have to have at least 15 weeks of preparation.
We have to start gently. If there are aches and pains, then that's going to be part of preparing and warming up. But actually, if there are sharp pains, if you're getting chest pain, that's a time to stop and make sure you see the doctor.
Everybody knows about their 5 a day, right? Well, no, actually. It's more like 25 a day. Because the shocking news is that our fruit and veg today has a fraction of the nutritional value that it did in the days when we lived in black and white.
We've got this insane situation where the tomatoes that we ate 60 years ago
I've got a lot more vitamins in them and a lot healthier, and they actually taste like a tomato. And now, 60 years later, the tomatoes that we're picking up don't have as much nutrients and aren't as healthy. It's all about money, it's all about profit, and it's all about the supermarkets controlling the food chain so it works for them and makes them money. So it's about making a consistent product, even though that product's not very good, that it looks the part, so when somebody sees it, they go, oh, that's a tomato. If you see a tomato that's a bit gnarly and a bit different, it's got a bit of dirt on it, it's like, whoa, what's that? That's not a tomato.
Conventional agriculture adds very, very little nutrients into the soil. So the tomato you get, for instance, isn't going to be a particularly healthy tomato. Somewhere there's a woman that eats nothing but pickled onion flavoured Monster Munch. You know, she's still alive, she's not very well on it. It's exactly the same with a tomato plant that's grown in a soil without any nutrients in it.
So exactly how much less nutritious are our veggies these days?
In 1914, a cabbage contained 248 milligrams of calcium. In 1992, it contained 47 milligrams. We then look at the iron content of spinach, 64 milligrams in 1914, 2.70 milligrams in 1992. So it's kind of worked that one out for yourself. We'd have to eat 30 times more to actually get the correct iron content.
But does it really matter that fruit and veg isn't as nutritious as the stuff Grandma and Grandpa used to nosh on?
The problem is that certain nutrients are essential to keep us healthy and strong. And there is a huge link between these minerals and vitamins and heart disease, cancer, eczema, asthma, and chronic disease.
Flippin' heck, now that is shocking. Ladies, beware. You may believe that strenuous workouts are the holy grail to getting a fit body. But our shocking fact at number 14 is that exercising could wreak havoc down below.
Anyone that either exercises excessively or restricts their diet severely, they can have problems with their periods, and these problems can last a long time and cause infertility problems later.
I was 17 and I was training 6 days a week, twice a day, and my period stopped. And I went to the doctor and they looked into this, and my body fat had gone very low. So I was put on the contraceptive pill to get my estrogen levels back up again. So it's something that's very prevalent among women that become quite obsessed in the gym.
It's bad enough that your overworked body could give up on being fertile. But if you are lucky enough to get pregnant, then don't expect to stay a size 0. It's just not healthy.
Probably say I do have a bit of pregorexia. I'm too scared to get pregnant because of the idea of how my body's going to change.
I personally am trying for a baby at the moment, but I know to the 100 grams how many kilos I weigh. I weigh myself several times a week. I know exactly how much weight one is supposed to put on during pregnancy.
When they try and keep as slim as they were before with just a small bump, this goes directly through to the fetus, and so the fetus may suffer a number of problems, including being underweight, being born premature, or possibly miscarried altogether.
Yes, attempting to lose weight while you're pregnant can seriously damage your baby's health.
You know they're probably still starving themselves and they're pregnant, and I just think, you have an eating disorder, don't pass it on to your baby. You know, cut the kid some slack. Let it have some nutrition, for crying out loud. You can kill yourself on your own time after you give birth.
I avoid anything that gives the impression that there's a fix.
It seems these days you can slap any elite athlete on something and have some fancy marketing copy and be able to make an absolute mint.
Yes, our next shocking fact is that so-called sports drinks are little more than a clever marketing ploy to sell us a load of sexily packaged sugary water.
There tends to be an awful lot of sugar, actually. There is a trace of salt, because there's not enough salt for what you really need, because it would taste terrible, actually. So it's more or less sugar and water.
Filled with artificial colours, they're often bright blue.
I get very concerned at this whole market of sports drinks, because it's the word sports that somebody has latched onto and thought, people see sports, they're going to think this is going to make me better at my running or give you more energy. People forget that your body is very good at doing what it was designed to do.
But with a global market worth nearly £16 billion a year, surely there's more to it than that. You know, kind of sciencey type stuff, electrolytes, that kind of thing, huh?
There's a massive media campaign around sports and energy drinks as being this quick fix for hydration and energy when you do exercise. Unfortunately, the evidence for that just isn't there.
Well, there is evidence, but the quality of the evidence is pretty poor. And if you're using them to think you're going to get much better performance, well, actually, you're probably likely not to, unless you're going beyond about 2 hours of exercise. For the average person in the street who does exercise up to 90 minutes, I wouldn't bother. Just take some water.
Join us after the break as the shocks continue. Discover why it could be impossible to get fab abs.
Some people are just not meant to have a six-pack.
Why hot yoga might seriously damage your health.
I landed up in hospital with bacterial meningitis.
And how you can starve yourself to a longer life.
If you eat less, you're going to live longer.
Welcome back to our countdown of health and fitness shockers. At number 12, not one but 3 wonderfully shocking facts about why too much fruit and veg can be bad for you. Any vegetarians watching might want to look away now.
I did actually have a client who was eating so many fruit and vegetables that he was gaining too much weight, and he couldn't understand why, because he was eating a healthy diet plus about 10 or 12 serves of fruit a day, and when he reined down to about 4 or 5 pieces a day, his weight problem disappeared.
I do have to tell you that my lovely father used to eat 5 apples a day. And when he went to the dentist, he was told that the acid in the fruit was rotting the enamel on his teeth, and he had to stop. So 5 apples a day is too much.
One interesting thing that can happen with people who eat an awful lot of carrots and pumpkins, sweet potatoes, is they can build up quite a lot of carotenes in their system. And people can actually start turning slightly more orange. The skin can get an orange glow from having so many carotenes.
I did a carrot juice diet for a little while, and my face turned orange. So, and also the palms of my hands and the soles of my feet, so that wasn't a good look.
This might look like a room full of 80s ladies and 1 bearded man getting fit through aerobics, but to the staff of A&E, they are all potential inpatients because they're in serious danger of ripping their muscles in half.
Muscle tears can be very, very painful. People turn up to an accident and emergency with muscle tears. I've seen people where it's so painful they just can't get out of bed in the morning. And sometimes they can take a long time to get better, causing people to have a lot of time off work.
Ironically, it's in the workplace that the problem often starts.
The problem with most of us is that we have a lifestyle where we spend ourselves in poor postural positions where we're hunched over, you spend your life at a desk, sitting down. So if you suddenly then go and exercise and expect these muscles that have been shortened to suddenly be able to lengthen and to work in a different way, then you are potentially going to get injured.
Muscles that aren't warmed up properly as someone exercises more and more and more and more and more, specifically during aerobics, can then just suddenly tear.
Well, that's the problem. But what's the solution? What exactly can we do to avoid a whole world of pain?
If everybody did 4 dynamic stretches after a little cardio warm-up, it would make people's experience so much better and reduce that risk of injury.
Next, a quick question. Which has more chlorine in it? This fun-packed swimming pool? Or this lovely bag of healthy, fresh salad? Amazingly, the bag salad is washed in a chlorine solution 20 times stronger than the average swimming pool. That's shocking.
The level of chlorine is horrific, and chlorine is a neurotoxin. You don't want it in your body. It's a toxin that your body has to get rid of, can't do it necessarily very well, and causes problems.
So why on earth do we buy bags of salad rather than nice fresh lettuces in the first place?
Wouldn't it be wonderful if we lived in an age where you could buy a lettuce or buy spring onions, buy vegetables, and accept that maybe they turn a bit after a few days? We don't live in that age anymore. We want everything packaged for us, handed to us, and it's going to last in our fridge for a week after we've bought it. And if we don't have all of those criteria, we're the first ones to complain.
Anything else?
With a lot of these bag salads, as soon as you cut into them, they start losing their nutrients. It's not very good for you.
They're actually packaged in modified atmosphere packaging, which is a slightly increased nitrogen and carbon dioxide.
So, getting unbagged leaves, quick wash, that's all you need to do.
What does it take to wash a bag of salad after you opened it? Just basic common sense. Run it under the tap.
After the Olympics, I got loads of tweets about my abs. Even my brothers are like, Margaret, look at your abs, they're better than mine.
I just want to be ripped. You hear that a lot as a personal trainer.
Yes, a set of abs like a chiseled Greek god is the holy grail of modern fitness. But the shocking truth for most mere mortals is a six-pack is impossible to achieve.
The six-pack is notoriously difficult. In some way, it's the cherry on the cake of fitness, although cake is probably the last thing you want to be eating if you want a six-pack.
The way that it was by the Olympic Games came through thorough hard work. Circuits after circuits, all different kinds of sit-ups, planking. Probably every sit-up under the sun I've tried to do.
But sit-ups alone won't necessarily get you a buff belly.
People sit and eat a bag of crisps and then get down on the floor and do 1,000 crunches, and they think that that means that they've burnt off the bag of crisps and they're going to develop this amazing six-pack. Well, actually, it doesn't work like that.
You do need to burn off the fat over the abdominal muscles, otherwise those abs are never going to show.
It really comes down to diet and low body fat. To have a six-pack, you should be about 10%. Men, on average, are 18 to 24%, so already you've got an uphill climb.
What you need is to reduce the sugar in your diet, because it's sugar that in particular spikes insulin, and the insulin will cause fat storage around your central region.
Right, so first you have to starve yourself, then work your abs till the cows come home, and you might start seeing the beginning of a washboard stomach, yes? Well, that depends on your old mum and dad.
You might be blessed with an 8-pack, you might have a 4-pack, you might have beautiful symmetry, or you might be more crazy paving.
Genetically, some people are just not meant to have a six-pack.
So, there you have it. For some of us, it's time to admit defeat and accept we'll never be abtastic. Welcome to Hollywood, the world capital of the crash diet, where eating a burger is considered a hate crime.
Anytime you're out eating food with a Hollywood person, they're swapping tips on how to starve themselves. I'll be there eating my hamburger or whatever, and then they're there rattling off some crazy diet they're on, some strategy they're doing to make sure that, the food doesn't even stay in their colon for more than 5 minutes, and it's kind of a sick way of thinking.
But the real shock is that in a desperate attempt to look like our skinny idols, we run the risk of doing untold damage to our insides.
People look in magazines or they see TV shows or they see their movie stars and they're all looking so perfect and pretty and lean. They just see what they see and they want that too.
Is there such a thing as going too far for a role? Like Matt Damon found that out when he was starring in Courage Under Fire. His adrenal glands ended up packing it in, and his doctor told him he was lucky that his heart didn't shrink.
I think when we see Hollywood stars losing a lot of weight, it's tempting to follow what they're doing or maybe try to drop weight in a very short amount of time, but it's not healthy, and we shouldn't try and do that.
Hollywood crash diets are there for a specific purpose, and that's to get an actor to look right for a specific role, and that's why they do them. But you've got to remember that they'll have an army of people helping them to get there.
Yes, there's the rub. They have a legion of health advisors, but if we go on a crash diet, we're on our own, and it can have serious health consequences.
Puts the heart under a huge amount of strain. It messes up your fluid levels. Your biochemistry goes out of sync. As I said, your metabolism goes out of sync, and it can really mess with your brain chemicals. Your serotonin, the feel-good chemical in your brain, gets completely out of whack.
And to add insult to injury, the irony is that going on a crash diet is highly likely to make you even fatter.
Most people cannot sustain these diets for any period of time. So when they start to eat normally again, that weight comes pouring back on rapidly, and sometimes it will overshoot and you will gain more weight than you had before.
Ever wondered why so many people these days are having new hips and knees well before they draw their pension? The shocking answer is simple. Running is totally ruining our joints.
I think there's a big concern at the moment that we're getting old before our time because we're over-exercising at an onset of early arthritis.
So often people don't appreciate how fragile the human body is. I think runners are the most guilty of this, that they think it's fine to just run.
Some people will run and run and run. Sometimes you look at the joints in somebody's back or look at the joints in their knees and ankles, and they look like they're the joints of a 70 or 80-year-old. They've just been working them so hard that they've had 40 years of wear and tear in maybe 2 or 3 years.
It does come with the downsides. It can injure any joint. You get a huge amount of pounding when you're running on these joints, and that increases the risk of damage, injury, and wear and tear.
You've got that cartilage, you're not going to be able to replace it. It doesn't regenerate, therefore look after it and minimise the stress going through your body.
It's not good for you to pound the pavement or pound the gym. You might be thinner, but you'll look a lot older and you'll suffer a lot as you get older too.
The thing with exercise is it's so good for parts of your body. It warms everything up, it gets everything moving, including your bowels.
Now, this shock is simple and unsavoury. Exercise makes you fart. Whether it's running, weightlifting, aerobics, or sit-ups, with all those contracting muscles and increased abdominal pressure, we're talking a force-8 gale.
I often teach classes where someone will really let off one and everybody turns around. Don't let it put you off. Please try and see the humour in it. But do be aware that if you are going to go to classes, you may be letting off 1 or 2 stinkers.
And nowhere are you more likely to let loose a trouser cough than in the quiet, zen-like surroundings of a yoga class.
In my yoga class, there has been lots of bodily, functional noises.
If people do, fart in class, I'm like, well, you're human. It's normal. Better out than in.
I do know that occasionally in yoga, I have released a bunny. Yes. It's totally quiet, and I found myself engaging certain deep muscles, and there happens to be a slight release of flatulence.
What exercise can do is release gases a little bit more easily, and that's not going to be great for anyone you're exercising with, particularly if you're in a group and you're in the downward dog in yoga, for example. Your neighbour's not going to be hugely appreciative.
Well, especially if you're not wearing any pants. Join us after the break as we reach the top 5 shocking facts in our countdown. Watch out. Welcome back to our countdown as we reveal our top 5 shocking facts. At number 5. The shocking revelation that all those shiny, state-of-the-art machines we're dazzled by in gyms are just a silly way of making us part with our hard-earned cash.
It's great for the gyms because it gives them, a unique selling point to sell a membership, but they don't need that, they need to learn how to exercise.
We think somehow if we're going to get a state-of-the-art piece of exercise equipment, then we're going to get fitter more quickly. If you can go a little bit faster than the guy next to you, or work it a bit harder, or pick up a few weights that are heavier and for longer, then you're going to be fitter.
It looks very nice when you go on the gym tour and, the sales rep takes you round.
When you see a little, flashing light that tells you how fast you should be moving on a machine, it looks really impressive.
So they actually call it the wow tour. So you get the wow factor, and then, you part with your money.
You use this equipment they're told they should use, but they're not necessarily using it safely. They're not necessarily using it effectively.
And it's not just beginners suckered into buying pricey gym memberships who've got problems. Sometimes even fitness professionals suffer.
There's one particular machine I won't name, but ultimately, you shake. You put my leg on it, it shook me, and I wasn't the same for 2 weeks.
Despite the humiliation, we seem unable to live without our fancy machines, even when they're a load of hot air. Does anybody actually know what that thing does?
The main foundation of an effective exercise program should be built around free weights and free weight movements. We've got everything we need with our body.
And according to one experienced fitness guru, we should drop the dumbbells altogether and get back to basics.
I've used the machines on clients. I know the kind of bodies that gyms produce. It's perfectly possible to exercise in the home with just a towel on the floor.
It's a revelation to me that when Kate Moss said nothing tastes as good as skinny feels, she's actually onto something. If you eat less, not only are you going to be healthier, but you're going to live longer.
Yes, at number 4, the most shocking diet ever, starving yourself to a longer life. Recent studies have shown that an extreme reduction in your calorie intake could actually help you to live to well over 100.
Well, this is interesting because there is some hard science here. Now, there are a number of people who have been subsisting on a low-calorie diet for a long period of time, and we're talking generally below 1,000 calories a day, which is a lot less than we're generally recommended. And it has been shown that although they may, on the outside, not look any different, internally their bodies are not aging in the same way.
And parallels have also been drawn between severe calorie restriction and how cavemen lived.
You have to remember, we're all cavemen. A caveman couldn't possibly, at 11 o'clock at night, have a pizza and a hot chocolate. They were in bed at 7 o'clock in the winter, actually 5. They went to bed when it was dark, got up when it was light, and our body is still on that cycle.
So they weren't up all hours watching telly and stuffing their faces full of pizza, but what's that got to do with living longer?
Your pancreas makes digestive enzymes all day to digest food, but at night, the same enzymes repair your cells. So if you eat less, that means at 2 in the morning, your body will start to repair. So it's actually good to eat less. You don't want to overtax your digestion.
So living like our cavemen chums could help us all live to 100. Simple.
I think one of the attractions of starvation diets, I know this sounds sick, but it's that idea that, well, you know, at least you're not eating steak, because that could be bad for you, or, you know, at least you're not eating too much cheese or too much dairy. Just eat nothing and you'll be fine. You'll be dead, but you'll be fine.
Bikram yoga involves pulling ancient Indian poses in a room heated to 100 degrees. It may be a hot ticket, but our next shocking fact is that it could also seriously damage your health.
Bikram yoga can be a bit of a hotbed for bacteria.
There are lots of bugs, and subsequently I've had a lot of teenagers coming to me who have been doing hot yoga, and they've picked up glandular fever, mononucleosis.
If you thought hot yoga was supposed to be good for you and make you super bendy, think again. Let's talk about all that sweat, shall we?
I think a lot of people think of yoga as a really good way to lose weight. You probably have dropped a few pounds when you leave the studio. However, you've lost water.
It's 40 degrees. You're just dripping from top to toe, so you're going to get dehydrated. You become shaky, you become tired.
The truth is, the constant heat, non-stop drip of shed body fluids, dirty mats and flying beads of sweat are a breeding ground for nasty bugs. And for some, the consequences are truly shocking.
Well, I first went to do hot yoga about 6 years ago. A class of about 30 or 40 people came out, and the class that I was going in went immediately into this really hot room that had not been ventilated. Just thought, this is really unhygienic. I came away and I still felt a bit tired, sweated a heap. Sadly, the next day I landed up in hospital with bacterial meningitis and went into a coma for 6 days. Thank God for the NHS, because I wouldn't be alive today if it wasn't for them.
So maybe think twice before you roll out that yoga mat. At number 2, a warning. When it comes to your health, don't believe everything you read in the papers, because sometimes they get things shockingly wrong.
It's a really great thing that there are lots of health stories out there in the media because it gets people thinking about their bodies and about their health and about their behaviours. Unfortunately, the vast majority of information that's out there is either biased or slanted or not presented accurately.
We bombard people with health messages all the time, whether it's come and have your child vaccinated, whether it's come and turn up if you've got a cough for 3 weeks. Then the newspapers are telling you about coffee, cheese, what you should and shouldn't be eating.
You get sensationalist articles which are so extreme. Vitamin C gives you cancer. You know, it just makes people panic.
With more than 900 health stories per year in the Daily Mail alone, the sheer volume of often contradictory information in the press is at best confusing and at worst terrifying.
Increasingly, I'm seeing people, in clinics who have been scared by things that they've read in newspapers. On the plus side, that's actually prompted somebody to come and seek health advice. On the downside, the negative side, is it's scared them, and it might mean actually that they've become unnecessarily stressed and frightened by this.
So, to avoid health story-induced nightmares, remember, no matter how shocking, it's all tomorrow's fish and chip paper.
Newspapers write what people want to read, and there is no hiding the fact that people are interested in health. It's up to you to look at what you're being presented with and go at it with an objective mind and say, OK, well, what's relevant to me and what's not relevant to me? And do I fly into a panic about that, or do I just look slightly closer at what I'm eating?
We're actually becoming more neurotic about our health, but at the same time, we're healthier than ever. And actually, you can just relax a bit. Actually having a balanced diet, doing things, there's not very much that's going to be really that harmful for you.
Next, the moment we've all been waiting for, our #1 shocking fact. And a timely warning to save you the trouble of going on the latest fad diet. They don't work. Despite this fact, it seems a new diet pops up more often than Stephen Fry on the telly.
We've had the F-plan diet, we've had the Cambridge diet.
I've tried the cabbage soup diet.
I see diets that mean you can only eat watermelon and drink milk.
The cactus lolly diet.
No carbohydrate diet.
I've tried the Dukin diet, I've tried the grapefruit diet.
We've had high fat, low fat, no fat.
I've seen diets where you can only eat bananas.
The lemonade diet.
GI. GL,
the OMG diet, which largely consists of lying in a bath full of ice cubes.
Cotton wool diet.
Sorry, did she just say the cotton wool diet?
The cotton wool diet is, as the name suggests, eating, chewing cotton wool to fill the space in your stomach so there's no space for food.
I have a friend who decided to go on the maple syrup diet. It's a really expensive maple syrup, and then you use all these like cayenne peppers and lemon juice.
The maple syrup diet's a really common one. And yes, people do lose a lot of weight, but they feel dreadful.
I tried it for about 36 hours and so I can't cope with this anymore. It felt like the most sickening thing. How somebody could stick to it for 2 weeks, I have no idea.
And this diet is definitely not for the faint-hearted. And for one legendary rocker, the results were explosive. Literally? 80s rock star Eddie Van Halen recently found himself on the brink of death after this cayenne pepper concoction actually blew up his intestines. Ooh, ouch. But if a combusting gut and a burning bottom still hasn't put you off the idea of a wacky diet, then here comes the science.
There are lots of different faddy diets out there. All of these will make you lose weight because you reduce your intake of calories quite severely.
And then as soon as you start to eat, normally you'll put on more weight. And that's because when you starve yourself with these diets, your body goes into starvation mode.
And your metabolic rate will drop. And when you then start to eat a normal diet afterwards, you will gain the weight very rapidly.
But as long as there are skinny jeans, there will always be die-hard dieters willing to put themselves through anything.
I've tried them all. And guess what? The weight still comes back on when I stop.
So, there you have it, the 50 most terrifying truths about diet and exercise. But what have we learned? Well, too much exercise is turning us all into premature pensioners. Fatty diets are for fools. Booze can be good for you. And the gym is nothing more than a house of horrors. So be warned, health and fitness freaks. You might just be safer staying on your sofa and polishing off that family-sized bag of crisps. Good night, and good luck.
Oh look, the all-seeing eye returns. Witness the trials, tears, tantrums and titters of a fabulous batch of familiar faces. Celebrity Big Brother Live launch tomorrow night at 9. Next, Supersize Night concludes with those making a few Benjamins through booty. Fat for cash in just a mo.